Oh, we got some problems with Bungie chat. Uh-oh. Oh no. What be happening at Bungie? Bungie has never been weaker. Uh-oh. Oh shit. Lay it on to me, Bellular News. Lay it on to me.
Look, there's every
I will
chance
only play Sonic Crossworlds if they collab with Skibidi Toilet. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. What's happening at Bungie?
you've missed this news, but basically it has been a long few months over at Bungie. I mean, just think about it. We've seen the marathon delay, the plagiarism allegations, and now, well, one of the lowest concurrent peaks for a Destiny expansion ever.
Sheesh.
And sadly for them, the mood is not improving whatsoever.
Well, it's because Destiny Rising also came out, and that shit has been blowing it out of the water at this very moment. So I wouldn't be surprised how popular it is right now. How many downloads does it have now? Like what's the peak on that game for like at least like registrations and downloads?
Look at the subreddit and you will find a community that's all but given up. The reason why? Well, because they feel like the devs have given up too. But it might not be the resignation of developers. It might not be the community giving up. No, I think the most telling thing about Bungie's state is that the CEO resigned. Let's begin by looking at some numbers, and I know Steam player counts aren't everything, but they are something, and they don't look good for Edge of Fate, which is the latest Destiny expansion. Now, part of that was the final shape giving people an off-ramp, right? The final shape is basically the big culmination of a plotline, so if you're gonna duck out of the game, well, after that really is the best time. I mean, player sentiment was already low, and the state of Bungie, and of course the marathon debacles, did not help. But here's another problem. Only 22% of critics recommend the new expansion, which is absolutely brutal. And when it did release, well, players found that the new portal system completely reworked the game. And let's just say it was controversial.
Portal system?
Bungie basically added a parallel power system, and as Paul Tassi frames it, this effectively sunsets 80% of the game. There was no point in engaging with anything outside of that.
Wait, hold up. Destiny 2 has sunset 80% of the entire game thanks to the portal? As I watch Destiny 2 continues to lose 10,000 concurrent players every weekend, I don't think it's any real mystery as to why the portal, well, as almost the entirety of Destiny 2 right now, may be the thing that ultimately sinks it. I hope that's not true. Are you telling me they're vaulting more content? Question mark. Yeah, as a reason, as in early of September 2023, the mobile game of Destiny Rising has reached over 1 million installs on Android. The game was released in August 28th of 2025. The scope of Destiny 2 has been dramatically reduced with the launch of the Edge of Fate, and this entire new era, the real culprit is the portal. And the fact that it's adjacent new tiered armor and weapon systems has sunset the entire rest of the game. Like the entire rest of the game. Why'd you repeat the same sentence again? Okay, whatever. This is not an exaggeration. This new system launched without powerful drops or tiered weapons and armor anywhere in the game besides Kepler and the portal.
That system now. And that's because bonuses stack in a way that makes everything else almost irrelevant. Seeing the feedback, Bungie tried to fix complaints, but the fixes would have slowed.
Oh wait, is that a new thing right there? Hold on. So this means all of the old campaigns, destinations, playlists, dungeons, and raids do not play into this system at all. You can run them for old gear which cannot be converted or upgraded into the new system. Why? The playlist vendors, for instance, do not even have a reward track anymore. The relatively recent well-liked Pathfinder system was deleted entirely. Grandmaster strikes don't exist at all anymore? Jesus, oh my god.
Almost irrelevant. Seeing the feedback, Bungie tried to fix complaints, but the fixes would have slowed progression even more, so they had to walk those back. And then, well, they had to come up with something else entirely. And all of this got worse, of course, after the QA layoffs of this summer. So the stuff in-game's been going bad. But I'd say, given the QA layoffs, it's hardly a surprise that in addition to all of that, there is a never-ending tide of bugs, errors, exploits, all that stuff.
I have never known a Destiny 2 expansion with as many problems as the Edge of Fate, and I'm worried the game may not survive give them. I don't think it's remotely overstating things to say that Destiny 2 is currently in shambles. That much was clear from our review and recently released Edge of the Fate expansion, which scored a 54%. Damn, dude. Instead of building upon it, they want to get rid of it, to be honest.
Raid leaderboards that are full of cheaters. There's paid armor that turns players invisible. There's rewards not being granted, soft locks in multiple places in the game, and people losing access to paid content and stores, and the list of things goes on. And then came even more frustration because Bungie also seemed to remove aspirational loot from the reward pool.
What? The shambles goes back to September 9th when Destiny 2 team announced the return of the Iron Banner PvP mode with new weapons to earn and an incredibly cool new set of armor. The real trouble, though, began when the concept artist Ben Lowe posted images of the Gladius Titan armor to his ArtStation page. The concept art is basically identical to what ultimately ended up in the Eververse store, other than for the fact it has the Iron Banner signature's tree symbol on the chest piece. I see. Because I remember the Iron Banner PvP stuff, because like you can be able to earn a lot of the Iron Banner stuff, like weapons and armor. So from from the trader shop or what is it, Lord Saladin or whatever his name is?
They
after a while
seemingly made it paid instead. So that was a shit show. Of course, it's one they had to fix as well after a bunch of backlash. And I mean, we haven't even talked about the Star Wars themed expansion controversy in this video. So
oh yeah, I forgot. Wait, is it already over? The Star Wars thing? They did a Star Wars thing, right? Is it already done? Did they finish it, or has it not come out yet? I don't even know. And this is all before the Star Wars collab coming later in December. No, not yet. Apparently there's already problems with the Star Wars collaboration, apparently.
In short, right? It's been a bad time. And the man in charge during the development of all of this just quit. But it's more than just
take your game, be safe.
It's some of the context and also some of the incentives. Bungie CEO is gone. Pete Parsons gets to walk away from all of this chaos.
Yeah.
Someone else can deal with the consequences of the company's actions during his tenure. In a blog post at the end of August, Parsons announced this departure. He had 20 years at Bungie, and he said that he decided to pass the torch. But the timing is kind of interesting. You see, he's leaving 3 years and 1 month after Bungie's acquisition by PlayStation, and that may just align with stock options maturing from that sale. And that's something clearly in the minds of the staff whom he fired. They reacted with barely disguised venom.
Wait, what's this? We are proud to announce that Justin Truman will be stepping up as Bungie's new studio head as Pete Parsons retires from his position and passes the torch to the new generation of leaders. Vested stocks cleared, damage done, but hey, we're all family, right, Pete?
Social media. Ex-social media manager Griffin Bennett had a particularly sharp response. He just said, vested stock cleared, damage done, but hey, we're all a family, right, Pete? You see,
totally.
Back in December 2023, insiders were worrying about something. They essentially thought the leadership at Bungie were preparing to cut and run after the launch of Marathon. Obviously, the launch of Marathon did not happen when anyone thought it would, especially at the time of those leaks. And what it looks like is that even if that was the plan, while Marathon may have been delayed, Parsons' exit was certainly not delayed in line with the game. So to understand this, let's go back to 2021. Staff framed Parsons as slow to act on toxic work culture allegations. They sent direct letters to him, and his intentions were supposedly good, better than some others of Bungie leadership, but ultimately, he didn't really react fast enough. But this was just the start. What followed next? Well, the multi-project incubation period that sapped resources, the sale to PlayStation, disastrous monetization demands being placed on the Destiny team. All of this stuff harmed developer and player sentiment, and I think most dangerously, it put players and developers against each other. And when that sort of thing starts to happen, game communities can just enter a death spiral. But then came the endless stream of layoffs both before and following the final shape. Because hey, congratulations, you did the final shape, people seem to have loved it, and your reward is already planned layoffs.
Damn.
Epic. Now add to this the woes of this summer, and just before that, the entire marathon saga that played out. It's a lot. Now, look, to be clear, Parsons isn't directly responsible for everything that went bad. He's not the guy individually, unilaterally making choices about systems or skin implementation, right? Maybe he'll be a tiebreaker between some of his leads, something like that. But he exemplified the company culture. His decisions led to layoffs. Those layoffs left teams struggling. We know, as an example, struggling to run QA. So if you're a player finding, wow, there's a lot of bugs, what's going on here? Maybe that would have something to do with it. And with all that bad news, it's no wonder that Bungie couldn't retain experience. So, at worst, he is indirectly responsible for the company's state, but obviously, as CEO, yeah, he was responsible. But here's something. If Parsons is indirectly responsible for the company's state, what's curious is that his successor will not have the same role. Bungie's new leader is a man called Justin Truman, and you might remember him from some of our previous coverage. We talked about his infamous GDC presentation on sustainable live service development. You might remember a quote, which is, "Beware of over-delivery." Obviously, Destiny players felt that they had been under-delivered to for quite a while, so it obviously fired away as a meme. It became kind of typical, an example of everything that people thought was wrong.
Oh, like under-deliver and whatnot?
In reality, what he said in the talk was far more nuanced, and I guess the easiest way, albeit crude, is to just say, he was basically saying, don't blow your load. That's kind of it. Now, he actually engaged with the criticism of that meme when it came to accepting his new role, and what's interesting is that ex-staff weren't actively hostile to his appointment, which I think does suggest it could be a step up at least. But here's the thing, he is replacing Pete Parsons, but his new role is not that of Chief Executive Officer. He instead will be Bungie's studio head. Now, this may seem like some semantics, but I think it represents the most fundamental shift at Bungie in years. The reason why is simple. It suggests that Bungie's independence is ending under PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's a threat that's loomed over them for a long-ass time. It's obvious that now it's coming true. And even before Parsons announced his departure, PlayStation were closing in, and they weren't doing it sneakily. Sony CFO Lin Tao explained this to investors in early August, where he said, quote, "We have gone through structural reform as we announced last year." And then he added the crucial bit of information, quote, "This independence is getting lighter, and Bungie is shifting into a role which is becoming more part of PlayStation Studios." Yeah, so
they're basically getting
integration
absorbed.
is proceeding. The independence of Bungie is going away. And obviously, this followed the 2024 restructuring, where PlayStation moved 12% of Bungie, which is 155 roles, directly into SIE, which is Sony Interactive Entertainment. Those people then formed Team LFG, and they're currently working on a live service MOBA, which is one of the things that...
Ooh, a live service MOBA? All right, well, Jesus Christ. Okay, I'm not gonna play it personally.
Came out of Bungie's incubation period. Anyway, they also formed the Creative Studios team supporting live service development, which obviously makes a lot of sense when you know that PlayStation really wanted those live services. Now, before that, well, Sony's incoming CEO visited Bungie, and when he did, he praised the staff, but he said there was, quote, "room for improvement." Not necessarily on the staff. No, his room for improvement was specifically regarding business expenses and accountability for development timelines. Certainly sounds like a bit of a threat. And those are the types of failures that staff are not responsible for. They're the sorts of things management is responsible for.
Yeah.
And now, Bungie has no CEO. The leadership will report directly to PlayStation.
Because I remember that the CEO was buying cars, like vintage cars and everything. I remember that.
And it's a PlayStation that's different, one that is shifted towards cheaper, faster game development with more central oversight, because they essentially realized, oh dear, we put a lot of chips into Concord, and we really didn't monitor the quality of that, did we? So you might be wondering, is this better for Bungie? It's weird, right? Because we don't know, you don't know, none of us know, because like the future hasn't happened yet. And also game development has a lot of lag time. Parsons left at the end of August, but we're still going to feel the impact of his leadership, I suppose his and his team's plans, for a long time. Now, if we're to assume that Truman has the best of intentions, which I am happy to do, well, it's also the case that he's likely under a hell of a lot of pressure, because he now needs to deliver change for both Destiny and Marathon, both of which are extremely embattled. And he's working with a studio that is now bled of its senior talent via multiple rounds of layoffs, and also dealing with fans that are rightly not happy and rightly not trusting. Meanwhile,
Yeah, he pretty much got left in a shitstorm, and he has to clear up the shitstorm himself, you know, because of what the last guy basically left, or, you know. My question is, how are they going to change Marathon? Like, what are they going to do to change Marathon to capture people's audiences? That's the question I ask, you know? What are they going to do with Destiny in order to change it, you know, to get the people back on board for Destiny? My curiosity is, what do people in the comment section have? What would make them, right? If this is the question, right? What would make you guys go back to playing Destiny? Or what would make you guys play Marathon? Like, what would incentivize you to install the game and play it and have fun with it?
Production patterns and product offerings.
I'd be curious what people are thinking.
Look at the different iterations of like seasonal yearly content that Destiny has had. Look at how Marathon is being forced to change by a market that, well, is, I think, quite literally demanding change of it. Though, of course, none of this will be news to Truman, because he's been the Chief Development Officer since 2022. Before that, he was Destiny's general manager, and he switched roles right as the chaos began with the Lightfall expansion. He's been part of the decision-making since then, and he still is now. So the question is simple. Do he and PlayStation actually have a plan? At the very least, PlayStation can be pleased about something, and that's licensed revenue from Destiny Rising.
That's true.
What's Destiny Rising? Well, it's a mobile game with gacha elements, so yeah, it's bringing in the money. And as we've covered, that's where a lot of the industry's money comes from now. And by most accounts, NetEase used their blank slate with making this Destiny spin-off game actually quite well. They supposedly made a passable Destiny campaign. Players were satisfied enough until, of course, they hit the end game and the gacha and power and all of that began to rear its head. But still, it brought in some happy numbers. PlayStation will like that. And PlayStation now treats Marathon as their investor marketing centerpiece. We see that from recent accounts of them saying that things have improved with the game, talking about features added like proximity chat, that the mission system rewards players better, that the UI and UX has got significant improvements, that they've, of course, removed the plagiarized art. All of those things to rehab its image and, again, tell the investor story that they need to tell. But there is a simple enough fact. Marathon will arrive late to the extraction shooter party. You see, both Escape from Tarkov and Arc Raiders will hit their own version 1.0s first. But when Marathon arrives, it may have a shot of success. Bungie can still deliver cool things from time to time, undoubtedly. But the problem, Bungie will deliver...
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I'm just not a fan of the art style of this game. Even then, on top of that, I'm not a huge fan of extraction shooters as well, so I just feel like the extraction shooter genre is just very, it's like pretty niche. It's not very niche, but it is pretty niche though. And I assume those people who are playing those specific like extraction shooters are probably not gonna leave and go play a different one, you know?
Marathon under... To be charitable, let's just call them unenviable
like they'll try it out, but if they don't like it, they're just gonna go back.
And when you look at Destiny right now, you do see that it ain't working. The future of Bungie then? Well, in theory, more PlayStation engagement means more oversight. So if you miss your development targets, yeah, you're not reporting to Pete Parsons who can spin it to Sony. No, you're going to be answering to PlayStation directly. The same goes for missed revenue targets. And if that leads to more layoffs with the same delivery expectations, then Bungie will just have to face the worst of all worlds. One where they can only be punished, where the fruits of their labor will be privatized and, you know, they'll get laid off if something doesn't go well. the sorts of mercenary decision making we've seen from a lot of these companies. But if we're trying to stay grounded and stay with the perspective that most people are
That's
the
what I'm
hero
saying.
of their
They'll
own
try it out,
story,
but they'll go
that
back to
are,
playing
at
the
least
game,
through their
their
own
old
narrative,
game.
actually trying, well, we can think about a statement from Totoki to investors. The one basically of Bungie devs always having had talent and always wanting to deliver for players. You know, he could see that. And a lot of the sort of veiled or not so veiled threats.
What is this? Showing great creativity as well as impressive knowledge of live services. However, I also felt that there was room for improvement from the business perspective with the regards of areas such as as the use of expenditures and accountability. Of course, this is the one from before. I hope to continue to the dialogues to come up with some good solutions. Showing great creativity as well as impressive knowledge of live services. That freaking line right there sure is something, to be honest, to hear that.
Rats from PlayStation, they were always about management. And when you look at some of the other big games, yeah, Sony does seem to have a better handle on what a quality video game is, you know, for all their faults, than, say, Microsoft does. It seems the failure of Concord truly shocked PlayStation into
Take care, Fable.
waking
Be
up,
safe.
honestly, and that seems to be what has made them completely okay with delaying Marathon, which I'm sure the older PlayStation wouldn't have wanted to do. Certainly the PlayStation that looked at Concord and thought, absolutely, well, yeet that one out. I'm sure it'll go well. We're PlayStation. Look how photoreal these characters are. The gamers and the people will love it. So in the good timeline, we get a PlayStation that holds leadership accountable, that stops Bungie leadership hiding behind their company's somewhat greater than average independence within the PlayStation roster of studios. If that accountability is there and the incentives are aligned, then maybe there is hope. Maybe Bungie can catch their breath. Maybe even they can take the time to rebuild. Doing that will be hard. The likes of Destiny is a live game with a profoundly disappointed player base, one whose cynicism does feel rational and does not feel jaded, because they've genuinely had a very goddamn bizarre time. This story's basically been game development where so much of everything goes wrong. But if you want to see the literal opposite of that, a game free from so many of the things that just, be it indie, AA or AAA, just kill projects, watch this video next. It's about Team Cherry, and I think you'll really like it.
That's crazy, though. I'm gonna be honest with you. Pretty freaking wild, in my personal opinion, how they of how Bungie is just completely losing at this point. They're gonna be completely absorbed to Sony 100%. There's no way they're not getting absorbed into Sony. You know, maybe they have one final chance, maybe, question mark, you know, when it comes to Marathon, and, well, if they decide to make a Destiny 3 anyways, but we'll see. Man, crazy video to kind of be hearing about this anyways. It actually was worse. The leaks were true. Anyways, that's the end of the video, and peace.